everyone, welcome back to another lesson. Last lesson, we started talking about functions in JavaScript, and we've been made to understand that functions is not something that is peculiar only to JavaScript. It is a fundamental building block in all programming language for performing a particular task, a reusable piece of code block that can be reused in your code, in your program or application or project or whatever. So in this particular lesson, I want to just take us further about functions in JavaScript, as we are going to be seeing what can happen if we try to access if you try to access a function with incorrect parameters. Can we expect to get an accurate result, or can we expect surprises? So that is the essence of these particular lessons that we are going to be diving in. Do not forget that in the last example, I showed us how a function can be established. Let me just pull up my code editor again. So you remember this code from the last lesson where I called where the function keyword was first called, then the name of the function, the close and open bracket, and the curly braces. And you can see here we were able to invoke the function and we assign it into a variable before we eventually get out the result. And you will see that when you add 2 plus 9, it gives us the accurate results. I don't want you to be surprised with the changes I've made behind the scenes. This is just for the purpose of letting us see clearly things that we are talking about, especially our output in the browser. So in this particular lesson, let me go back. We want to see what happens when you access a function with incorrect parameters. You should expect that with an incorrect parameters, you will get an incorrect answer. Now, take a look at the example below. Function to Celsius. So the function here is calculating from Fahrenheit to Celsius. And then you will see a basic calculation here. 5 divided by 9 asterisk Fahrenheit minus 32. So this means that the output of this should be multiplied by this. And then let's just take a look at this to see the output and then see the difference when you access a parameter correctly and when you access it incorrectly. So let's dive in. So I'm going to change my example here, and then I'm going to use the example that I just showed now. Function, the keyword, to Celsius. This is the name of our function. This is the name we are giving our function. We can give our function any name. Our function can bear any name. Do not forget. But in this particular lesson, this is the name that we want to use. And then we open that bracket, open and close brackets. Do we have any parameter that we want to pass in? Yes, we want to pass variance in as our parameter. Sorry, this is not correct. PHIT, yes. And then the curly braces, where the code to be executed will go. And then here we can say, okay, return. Remember that in the last lesson, I did something like this. Let sum equals. So I can decide to return the output of the code from these curly braces directly without first assigning it to a variable like I did in the previous lesson. So I can do return 5 divided by 9 asterisk, then another bracket, variance minus 32. And then after this, I'll add semicolon. Yes, I'll add semicolon like this, and then my curly braces. Then I can come outside and do something like let's results equals. I want to call this value now to Celsius, and then I will just call it like this. Now, take a look at the output now. Don't forget that this place simply told us that when accessing a function with incorrect parameters can return an incorrect answer. So what is happening here is basically that these functions here expect a parameter because we have given that parameter here when we were writing the code block. So it expected a parameter to be passing when we want to call that function. But because we are not passing in any parameter, you can see that we got not a number, which is the output of what you can see on the screen. Now, if I pass in a number, let's see what happens. Now you can see, if I pass another number, now we are getting an output, which is the equivalent and the correct match of the functions that we've declared. So, but if I call this function without a parameter, it will always give a not a number now, as you can see on my screen, because the function, by giving it a parameter, you expect a parameter to be passed when you want to call it. So by passing a parameter, you can see that we are getting the correct and exact output in my browser. Now, accessing a function without this bracket returns the function itself and not the result. So when you try to access a function like this, I will take out this bracket and the number. Can you see? What are we getting? We are getting the exact functions that we wrote here, which is equivalent to what they mean hereby. When you access a function without this bracket, it will return the function itself and not the results. Now, so this is an example. What I just did now, I've removed out the brackets here, and you can see that the function itself is what we are getting as an output. So if I return back the bracket and I pass in a parameter, then we'll back to what we used to have in the past. So this is how functions work. So sessions refers to the function object, which means that here I am calling this as an object. So sessions refer to the function result. So this to sessions object that I'm calling here refers to the results of these functions that I have here, which I'm assigning to a variable here in order to get an output. And it is exactly what I'm doing here. So this is the object, and I'm assigning to a variable, and the variable here is what I am outputting here to give us this result in our browser. So this is how you use functions with parameters. So you can have more than one parameter. You can, for example, have two parameters here. You can have A, B. Just an example, you can have A, B, C. So depending on the number of parameters that you are working with per time is what you can put inside this bracket. But for this purpose of this lesson, we just have one parameter, and it is the reason why you can see that here I have just one single parameter that I am passing in. So what I'm basically saying is that if you have something like this, if I do AP and I say return A plus B. So when I want to call this function now, I'll call it this way, 2, 5. Now take a look at this. You can see that now I have two parameters, A and B, and then I'm saying add these two parameters together. So when I want to call that functions, I just simply gave it two numbers to match the parameter here. If I add just one parameter, it will not work. You see, I'm getting not a number like what happened the other time. But by the time I added the second parameter, it will give me the correct output and the correct answer. So like I said, you can have more parameters here depending on what you are working with. I'm just using this as an example. So if I say, okay, JavaScript should add all of these things together for me, it will definitely do them. Because as long as I pass in the correct thing, I'll get a correct interpretation as well. Now I have 5 parameters here. I'm returning those 5 here, and I'm passing those 5 here to invoke or call the function. And you can see that this matches. This is the exact result that I should get. So this is how you work with parameters in JavaScript. Thank you for your time in this video, and in the next video, we will continue.